The new Vanity Fair investigative report takes a deep dive into the background of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., titled RFK Jr.'s family doesn't want him to run, even though they may not know his darkest secret. Even they may not know his darkest secrets. The piece details several never-before-heard stories about the independent presidential candidate. It also features reporting on how some of his family members are worried about the prospect of RFK Jr. causing a, quote, political disaster. Joining us now with more, the reporter behind this story, Vanity Fair special correspondent Joe Hagan, who also sat down with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. last summer for an extended interview. Just an extraordinary piece aboard a ferry to Nantucket. If you haven't read it, go back and do so. Joe, it's good to have you with us. I want to talk about the family dynamics here, the pressure that they can or cannot put on him at this point. Yeah. But let's get into your story a little bit. So much has been made of the, for lack of a better term, the crazy side of it, the conspiracy theories and everything else that he espouses. But this gets into a little more of a dark past for this man.
That's right. Well, one of the things I sought to do is figure out, how did it come to this? You know, 20 years ago, Bobby Kennedy Jr. was a hero, right, of the environment, of Democrats. He was carrying the legacy of the Kennedy name in a way that people could get behind. And then slowly but surely, he transformed into somebody else. And in fact, as my reporting shows, he basically got a divorce from the environmental movement. You know, all the groups he had been the face of all washed their hands of him because they couldn't cope with his anti-science vaccine views that he insisted on crusading for. And there's an even darker prehistory to this. I mean, the man's life is full of tragedy and trauma, you know. His father, tragically assassinated in '68, brothers, cousins who have died tragically. And this trauma, you know, he was a drug addict for many years, which a lot of people don't really know the real story behind, but it went on a long time. And so he has a certain pathologies that his family is very familiar with. They're very reluctant to talk about it on the record. And so part of my mandate here was to figure out what motivates this guy and why he has become the person he has. And by the way, they're all worried, especially after last week's debate, that he could become a viable third option and really flip this election. And there's a blind terror among some in the Kennedy family. And I think probably some people in the Democratic Party share that.
As you say, he was, for so many years, a North Star for people in the environmental movement. I know people who work very closely with him. He used his name for good. I mean, New York Harbor is cleaned up in many ways because of his efforts, did so much good there. So where do you point? Is there a moment in time? Is there an era where there was a turn in him? I mean, we talked about 2004 election where he claimed that was a stolen election, sort of beginning a little bit of that kind of talk. Where do you put your finger?
Well, right before that, well, you know, in the late 90s, a lot of people don't remember a lot of this, but his brother was tragically killed in a ski accident. His cousin, John Jr., was killed in a plane crash. His cousin, Michael Skakel, was accused of murder and ended up going to prison for it. There was a lot of really tragic, terrible things happening right in his family background. So he was soon to be in a very dark divorce that I detail in my story. And there was just a lot of things conspiring at the time. And around that time, he was, you know, kind of looking for a new crusade. The truth is, he had been involved looking at mercury in fish in the water, and he sort of followed the mercury story. And then there came this sort of conspiracy that mercury in vaccines somehow had to do with autism, as we all recall with long memories. Remember this? Yeah. And he just ran with it. And even though it was debunked, he wouldn't let go of it. And he started to surround himself with people who were frankly cranks, who, you know, some of whom are in his campaign today. And for some reason, he couldn't let go of it. And his family seems to believe that there's a pathology of a need for attention, that he's now addicted to attention. He's addicted to having these people around him telling him that he's a hero. And, you know, I'm not a psychologist, but, you know, part of my mandate in this story was to try to figure out that. And that's, you know, how I see it. And in 2014, starting around then, groups like the NRDC, the National Resource Defense Council, they broke with him. And then Riverkeeper, who he was the face of, broke with him. And then he moved to California. And what we see since is the Kennedy you see today.
Okay, so there is, I mean, we have this confluence happening right now where he has, so you sort of chronicle, damaged, past that the family taught you, this pathology that you talk about, dangerous views, and then they're sort of colliding at a time where there are platforms for him, sort of the Trumpification.
That's right, and that's a big part of it.
So, talk about that, how that allows him to take off.
Think about the world of the last 15 years. Glenn Beck, Alex Jones, right? Trump basically seeded his entire political career dining out on a conspiracy that Barack Obama's birth certificate was fake. We've all watched the slow evolution of this conspiratorial world. There's mistrust out there in the populace, and the internet is there to do your own research, and it creates an entire voting block of people that are just like, I'm looking for another answer. I don't like the truth side of things. I'm going to go towards an alternate truth. And Kennedy has followed this. And there's a real critical moment in the story where he's goes to Trump Tower after Trump's been elected and seeks to run a commission on vaccines. And a lot of people in his orbit, that was the breaking point for a lot of people, including Riverkeeper, who saw this and said, we can't with this anymore. We don't buy, you can't come out on one day and say, don't believe the science on vaccines, and then come out the next day and say, believe the science on the climate. And so they just didn't see any path forward with them. And after that, he really embraced more deeply this conspiracy world. Along comes the pandemic. And by the way, look at this Children's Defense Fund that is his anti-vaccine group. Look at how much money he's been making since the pandemic. He was making $40,000 a year was his salary in 2016, I believe, or no, 2016. 2022, $500,000. So, look at the numbers, follow the money. Follow what he's following, and you'll see what happens.
Ironic, because he criticizes and accuses others of having profited from the pandemic and the vaccines and everything else. So he did not talk to you for this story.
No.
You reached out to the campaign for comment. I know they didn't get back to you on that.
Right.
But in your previous encounters with him, you're right. He deploys all of the Trump tactics, and not just with you.
That's right.
But any reporter, he starts with, "You're not going to give me a fair interview."
That's
totally
right.
Trumpian. So therefore, anything that's published, all reported out and checked, he can dismiss out of hand when the story
That's right.
comes
And
out.
He's said in the past, New York Times, all the media, they're in the pocket of the CIA, they're in the pocket of the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, come on. And so, at some point you have to just say, when's enough, right? And so I encourage people to read the story and decide for yourself what's at work here. Yeah.
The new piece is titled, RFK Jr.'s family doesn't want him to run. Even they may not know his darkest secrets. It is online now. Special correspondent, Vanity Fair, Joe Hagan. Joe, thanks so much. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.